No, you don't have to. It's just giving you the. You know, you can do anything.
Oh, you can do it.
Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To the awards first.
Oh, okay.
And the police. Good evening and welcome to tonight's town board meeting. It is December 27th, 2018. This is the last meeting of the town board for 2018. And as if you saw our agenda, it's very long. What we're going to do is, first thing on our agenda, we want to recognize the high school softball and boys lacrosse team. And I would ask the liaison to the Recreation Department, Councilwoman Lori Smalley, to start that.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Welcome, students, parents, and student athletes especially. This evening, we have 2 certificates to present, ladies before gentlemen. So if the members of the 2018 Westlake High School softball team would please stand and then come forward. Ladies, do you have a coach with you? Yeah, right there. Okay. Okay, on behalf of the town of Mount Pleasant, this is a certificate of achievement. This certificate is presented to the Westlake softball team for outstanding achievement in the sport of softball. 2018 New York State Class B Section 1 champions, regional champions, and state semi-finalists. Congratulations, ladies. You did a wonderful job.
You want to give that to the coach?
And can I have the coach please come forward so that I can give the coach the certificate for the high school? Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, ladies. Yes, we'll have a moment for pictures in just a bit, okay? It's now my pleasure to invite the Westlake Boys Lacrosse team from 2017 to come forward, please. And is your coach here? Oh, okay. Oh, I know I'm getting older. The coach is much younger than me. Wow. Okay. It is on behalf of the town board and the town supervisor and the town of Mount Pleasant, a certificate of achievement. This certificate is presented to the Westlake Boys Lacrosse team for outstanding achievement in the sport of lacrosse. 2017 New York State Class D Section 1 champions. Wow. New York State regional champions and state semifinalists. Congratulations, young men, for your achievements.
State finalists.
State finalists. Whoa, sorry about that. Woo! You can tell. Anyway, we're very, very proud of all our young student athletes, and let's hear a round of applause for the young men. This is a certificate for Westlake High School presented to the coach. And please note, there is also a wonderful sign on the corner of Nanahagan and Columbus that celebrates both the softball team, the lacrosse team, and other outstanding teams from the Westlake High School from the Mount Pleasant School District. Thank you all. Students and coaches, since we have such a jam-packed audience tonight, if you would step outside and take your photo, your group photo, in the main lobby, that would be better, I think. Okay? Thank you so much.
In order to move our agenda along this evening, I would ask our Chief of Police, Paul Leva, there's a couple presentations he would like to make.
Mr. Supervisor, honorable members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I'd like to start by calling up retired Sergeant Stephen Morello from the Mount Pleasant Police Department. Stephen. All right, so Steve Morello retired from the Mount Pleasant Police Department after a 38-year career. He officially retired October 16th, and I asked him to attend this meeting because we have a plaque for him. So if I may just read the top part of the plaque here. Presented to Stephen Morello, honoring your 38 years as a police officer, patrolman November 24th, 1980, September 1st, 1986 as a sergeant, in recognition of your meritorious service to Mount Pleasant Police and our community, wishing you all the best in your much deserved retirement, your friends and family at the Mount Pleasant Police Department, dated 2018. So I'm not finished yet because there's a bottom to this plaque. Steve has the distinction of being the only Mount Pleasant police officer shot in the line of duty. Wow. On Wednesday, August 24th, 1988, Steve and I were working the midnight tour together. He was a sergeant and I was a new patrolman, my second day on the job. 12:02 a.m., we were dispatched to a hit-and-run accident on Route 9A at the Sawmill Parkway in Hawthorne. While investigating the hit-and-run accident, a holdup alarm was received at 12:31 a.m. across the street at the Hawthorne Quality Inn Motel. So we left the accident scene to investigate. This was not a false alarm. There was a holdup. A night clerk was taken hostage before we arrived. Eventually, the hostage was released and a gunfight ensued. Steve was struck in the shoulder, but not before he was able to return fire and strike one of the subjects in the chest through the wall of the office behind the counter. That subject was subsequently arrested. Steve recovered and returned to full duty. So the motel manager never replaced the drywall holes from Steve's gunshots from behind the counter. She left it there as a reminder to the night clerks not to open the door prematurely without vetting anyone that came to the door at the lobby. So 10 years later, that motel was knocked down and rebuilt as a modern motel, or hotel, I should say, that's there today, but not before I took a souvenir. So some 30 years later, as Steve retires, I'd like to present him with the rest of the plaque, which has that piece of drywall attached to it. So it says effective shot placement, Hawthorne Quality Inn, Wednesday, August 24th, 1988. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief. Spread out. I guess I'm going to practice some more. I was honored to serve under your father, and I was doubly honored to retire under your realm. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it. could just shout out the Crown Awards, and Hawthorne really did a wonderful job on that, so I'd like to thank them for that. All right, I'm not done yet.
Okay.
The liaison to the police department, Tom Siliano, would like to announce what your next step would be.
That would be great.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. We're going to appoint 2 new police officers this evening. There's retirements, so we're going to welcome 2 new members to our family. And a special thank you to our police officers, the men and women. They do a fabulous job for us. We really appreciate their service. And again, we're going to appoint 2 officers this evening. One is Andrew Texera of Valhalla. The second gentleman is Mr. Brian J. Givney of Valhalla. And I'll let the chief of police do the honors, please.
All right, Andrew and Brian, would you come up here next to me, please? Mr. Andrew Teixeira is a Valhalla resident, grew up in the Bronx, graduated from Mount St. Michael High School, went on to attend Westchester Community College, where he went on to achieve his associate's degree. In addition to his full-time job that he had, and he's going to have to leave, Andrew was working as a part-time civilian dispatcher here and was doing a wonderful job. Mr. Brian Givney, Valhalla resident, lifelong, attended Westlake High School and went on to achieve a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from Manhattan College. Both of these candidates have passed a rigorous background investigation and the required screening exams as prescribed by the Westchester County Department of Human Resources. At this time, I would respectfully recommend the hiring of Mr. Andrew Texera and Mr. Brian Givney as permanent, full-time probationary police officers. Thank you.
Mr. Siliano, do you want to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for approval to hire these 2 candidates as police officers in the town of Mount Pleasant, please.
Motion by Mr. Siliano,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. At this time, I'll ask our town clerk to swear the new officers in.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name.
Brian Givney. Andrew Texera.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
to uphold the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and to perform the duties
on the duties
of police officer
of a police officer
in the town of Mount Pleasant
in the town of Mount Pleasant
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations and welcome to Mount Pleasant. Going to give a couple minutes for people to move around.
Darius, shall I read your presentation? The notes?
Public hearing.
All right.
Yes.
Right.
Moving on to one of our topics this evening. I'd like to read my statement to you and just some guidelines of how we're going to operate this public information meeting this evening. This evening, YAI will be giving a presentation on a proposed home on Halsey Place in Valhalla. All residents will be given the opportunity to speak in support of or opposition to. We have received and recorded many emails on this proposed home, about as many in support as against. Immediately after receiving the notice, I was immediately reminded of the numerous past requests and challenges and reactions we dealt with over the years. We are home to many facilities like the one being presented, and I admit my initial focus was not on the individuals slated to be living in the proposed home or their needs. I was mainly thinking of our community collectively and how another tax-exempt property could impact our tax base. Individually, one home does not make a significant impact. It is the over 30% of the properties in the town of Mount Pleasant already tax-exempt added to it, which I was recently misquoted on stating. Part of my job is to do what I can to control taxes while providing the services that our residents deserve. As your town supervisor and we as a town board must make decisions based on what we feel represents the best interest of our residents, all of our residents. I was raised to do what's right, to treat everyone with respect, care for those in need, and pray for those without hope. Throughout my life in Mount Pleasant, I have always believed we are and have always been a caring and welcoming community. I ask that everyone give each other the time to speak and respect they deserve regardless of their positions. Understand that YAI is here to present based on expressed needs of families in the community they serve. Likewise, the neighboring residents have a genuine concerns based on preserving the largest investment in their lifetime. Understand that the board does not take this decision lightly. We will listen to the discussion this evening, review all the communications, and make a decision on how best to proceed. We want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to speak. So as a reminder, after the presentation, there is a 5-minute limit per person, as with all public meetings. Please collect your thoughts before coming up to the microphone so you can maximize your time. We also ask that you sign in with your name and address for the record. Once the presentation is completed, we will open it up for everyone to make their comments. We will give 1 hour from now as an open discussion. After that point, we will be closing the public presentation and moving on to our agenda. We have a tremendous amount of things. Being that it was our last meeting of the year, there is a lot for us to discuss tonight and get through it. So I appreciate you following those guidelines and showing your respect to the other people that wish to speak. Right now, I would open up to representatives from YAI to make their initial presentation.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present our project, and happy holidays and happy new year to everybody here. My name is Sandy Spicer. I'm here tonight with Kathy Schiavi, our Hudson Valley Regional Director, and with Nick Shapiro, who's in charge of our construction management up in this region. I'm the VP of Program Development at YI. I've been with YI for over 30 years. Kathy's been here for 24 years. And a large part of what I do is develop and maintain housing for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We're here today to discuss the proposal to develop a 6-person home for young adults who are currently all living with their families in Westchester. They're looking to move on to the next stage of their life and move out and become more independent in another home. We're here to answer any questions you may have about the agency, our use of the home, the individuals who live in the home, and our staffing. And by the way, some of you may not know, but YI currently has another home in this community. It's on Brentwood Drive in Pleasantville. It's a home to 8 individuals, and they've been living there for the past 16 years. First, let me explain that the home will not be run by New York State. It will be owned and operated by YI. We're a private, not-for-profit organization that's been around for over 60 years. And our mission is to provide all types of services to individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families. This can include autism, Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and the old-fashioned term, the incorrect term, that's often associated with IDD was mental retardation. YI provides permanent housing for over 700 people. 16 of those homes and 4 apartments are in Westchester, and they provide permanent housing to 136 people. We also own a building in Terrytown and lease additional space in Elmsford, which are our day programs. We also provide employment services, community and family services to hundreds of people in Westchester. Kathy is going to speak about the individuals and our staffing, and Nick's going to speak about the home. But I kind of want to hit, I'm going to call my top 5 questions that I'm asked when I do these type of presentations. So the first thing is, will it affect the property values? So there have been many studies done throughout Long Island and Westchester, usually in the late 70s and early 80s when these homes were being opened, and they all proved they weren't. I can just tell you from anecdotal information that I've never been called, and I oversee 78 houses and a lot of other properties, that it has never impacted the property values, nor has anybody called me to say I can't sell my house. And recently, we have a couple houses in New Rochelle. We have a house that was bought by an individual who had no idea he was buying a house next to a group home. He sold his house 2 years later to a woman who did know she was buying a house, and he made $200,000 in that 2-year period. So that's just the most recent anecdotal situation that I can tell you. So we will have a van for the house. It's a regular 7-seater minivan, no signage. There's no signage on the house as well. I also have the privilege to oversee an amazing maintenance team that does routine maintenance on homes. And for larger projects in the future, 10 years, 20 years down the road, we do get ongoing maintenance to maintain boilers, roofs, siding, anything that needs to be repaired in the house. Kathy's going to talk about it, but all of our staff undergo criminal background checks. And the biggest thing that I've been hearing lately is about property taxes. And I do understand that. We are a nonprofit. We do file for a tax exemption. Usually the first year we pay full taxes. And it depends on the municipality. There are some municipalities where we still pay like water, sewer, garbage, sometimes emergency services. It depends on the municipality. But I can tell you we are going to apply for exemption. The one thing I can tell you that one of the group home committee chair in Yorktown, where we just finished a similar process, said to me, Sandy, if you were buying a house as an individual owner and putting 2 or 3 or 4 kids, it's a large house, through the public school system, you would be spending a lot of money every year. The town would be spending even more than the $17,000 worth of taxes that are on this house. Now, that $17,000 represents both the school tax and property tax. I do understand that. Nick is going to talk a little bit about the house and what we plan to do with it.
Okay, so as Sandy mentioned, I'll be the project manager. We'll be overseeing the renovations to the house. So 5 Halsey Place is a large single-family home. It's roughly 4,000 square feet, and it's on a 0.83 acre lot. So currently there are 5 bedrooms, 4 full baths. Basement is finished. There's an attached garage and a large fenced-in backyard and deck. And there's currently a driveway parking for up to 8 cars. Renovations will not increase the footprint of the home, and we will not be converting the garage to living space. The renovations will include installation of hardwired fire alarm system, egress windows, replacing some of the sliding doors with regular doors, and creating an additional bedroom out of the master bedroom suite so that we can have 6 bedrooms. We'll also be removing the swimming pool from the backyard, and all work will be completed under supervision of licensed architect, contractors, and we'll be obtaining all of the appropriate permits.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Schiavi. I'm the Hudson Valley Regional Director for YAI. I did hear that comment. If the fencing is not fully around the yard, we will be completing the fencing. I do believe the one side, the fence isn't completed. So we will have a fully fenced in yard. But I'm here to tell you about the 6 young women who will be moving into this house, and then to answer more questions about the staffing that we have. We have Heather, Mary, Nicole, Carrie, and Emily moving in. They all currently reside in Westchester with their families. Heather grew up in Westchester. She attended Harrison High School. She currently lives in an apartment with a roommate in White Plains and is ready for that next step and would love to have a home of her own that she will be sharing with others. Mary Lee is a very smart, young, and inquisitive young woman. She enjoys listening to music and spending time with her mother. She currently attends school in Mount Vernon. And she spends a lot of her time in her day program, but out volunteering within the community. Nicole is very shy and quiet. She also spends her days at a day hab program where they are out volunteering at community sites. And then Dina, as well, likes to volunteer. She actually volunteers at Dunkin' Donuts and Applebee's, where she participates in a volunteer program internship site with them. Carrie is very active in her family in Mount Vernon. She's an acolyte in her church. She loves listening to music, and she loves to travel with her family. And then lastly, we have Emily, who has lived in Mount Pleasant for the past some 20 years. She attended Columbus Elementary, Westlake Middle School, and was part of the Pleasantville High School class of 2016. She also participated in athletic programs throughout Northeast Special Recreation in Mount Pleasant and the Special Olympics. Today, Emily attends the Ability Beyond Disability Adult Day program in Chappaqua and works in the community with internships at Pleasantville High School, a local hair salon, and a variety of retailers, including Models. She has lifelong relationships here in Pleasantville and a busy social life, thanks to the devoted people in this community who are in Emily's life. So that's just a little snippet about the 6 young ladies who will be moving into the home. The house was not only chosen because of its size and large backyard, but we're really hoping to take advantage of the wonderful community that Mount Pleasant and the surrounding areas have for these women. In terms of the staff, this is a 24-hour supervised IRA. So there will be staff helping these young women 24 hours a day. The initial staffing pattern of the home, we do tend to staff up just to help them transition into the new home and learn the routines. We run in 3 shifts, so it's 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., 3 p.m. to 11, and then 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The morning and afternoon shifts will most likely start with a minimum coverage of 4, and our overnight staff will always be 2 overnight awake. We are presuming once the ladies are settled and get to know the routines that we will probably drop down to a minimum of 3, but we always start on the high end, really just to make sure that the support is there for them. All of our staff, as Sandy mentioned, do go through criminal background checks, and these are active criminal background checks. So in order to be hired, they have to go through this, but then once an employee of YI, if they are arrested while they are an employee, we do get notified within, I believe, 24 to 48 hours of an arrest, so that we can look into the situation with them. They also have to clear what's known as the Medicaid exclusionary list through New York State, meaning that if they were found to do anything that went against Medicaid laws and regulations, that they cannot work for anyone who is also Medicaid funded, so they run through that. Our staff go through extensive training. Before even being allowed to work in the program, they go through 5 full days of what we call pre-service, as well as all the mandatory trainings that OPWDD mandates us. OPWDD is our New York State government oversight, stands for the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, and we did neglect to say, do want to let you know, we do have a representative here. Lewis is here from their office to help support us tonight in our presentation. In addition to the mandatory trainings, YI also has extensive enrichment and quality trainings for our staff, everything from person-centered thinking to personal outcome measures to building positive relationships. And for our residential staff, we do have what we call how to be a good neighbor training. We really focus, I take a lot of pride with our houses that the quality of the supports and services within the home are extraordinary, but we also really focus on being good neighbors because we represent the people living in the home. So we focus a lot on that with staff. We go through checklists from everything to you turn your car radio down the minute you pull onto a residential street to you do not have conversations outside of the home and things of that nature. So I think it's helped us, my experience in Hudson Valley, being very successful neighbors to all of the communities that we currently are in.
So that's the formal, I don't know if the board has specific questions that they want to address before the public,
Yes.
Speak.
Yeah, we
So-
do. There are board members that do have questions. One of the questions I personally had was that you mentioned some of them residents of the town of Mount Pleasant. How many will be residents of the town of Mount Pleasant that will be using this home?
I'm sorry, how many are current town of Mount Pleasant? I believe just Emily is a current town of Mount Pleasant.
Just the one? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Board members?
I did have some questions. Sorry. How often is a staff supervised? How often do you as a supervisor go in to work with your staff?
Yes, so we have several layers of oversight. Every home has, I'll start with an assistant supervisor, which is a full-time position. Then there is a supervisor. Above that becomes either an assistant coordinator or coordinator. Above that becomes an assistant director and/or director. And then there is myself. I oversee all of the Hudson Valley region. We also have other types of leadership positions within the home. We have a healthcare specialist who is also considered a leadership position, as well as a BIS position that we have in our homes.
It's like a psychology type of position. But the supervisor and the assistant sup each do a minimum of 40-hour shift, but usually they're there a lot more. And there is also a call list so that if there are any issues going on in the home, somebody can be brought in. In addition, it's nice that we have another house in relatively close proximity. So there always will be somebody from the management team that can swing over to the house.
Also, too, one of the things that we do that we would absolutely do with this is the immediate surrounding neighbors would have the phone number to the house. They also would have the names and contact information for leadership staff. So if something was to come up.
The healthcare specialist, is that, most people here know my background's in public health nursing.
Yes.
Is that a nurse or is that someone that's emergency trained?
So all of our staff receive basic life support and CPR training. Our healthcare specialists have what's called AMAP training, and this is so that they are certified through New York State under our nurses' licenses to administer medication, but they also take a lead role in the healthcare needs of the women that are living there. Because the nature of the training and because it's a specialty training, these are usually, highly qualified staff, so they are looked as to also just as general leadership as well.
Now, my understanding from reading everything that we've read as town board members is that this home is based on the ages of 22 to 35. But what I didn't understand just from what I've read is that people don't age out. This is this a lifetime home? And if someone should opt out of the home, will they be replaced? I would imagine, will they be replaced?
Yes. So we look at all of our homes as lifetime homes. However, people do at times either age and or they develop the skills where they want to move to a less restrictive environment. So that could happen in the situation. And yes, at that point, then that person is replaced. We do move someone else in. We do try to keep the cultures of the home similar. So we go through an extensive screening process to have the right match for all the people that are living there.
Okay, and I'm sure that's what you've done for this,
Yes.
this particular home,
Yes.
this group of young ladies?
Yes, and just so people know, we do have family members in the audience that are either currently being supported by YI or looking to move into Mount Pleasant.
But that's a hard cap of 6 total
Yes,
individuals for the
yes,
home?
that's yes, it's
So
a hard
that-
cap of
That
6.
gets asked a lot. We cannot change the capacity of our house unless, of course, we would come back here with another presentation. That is not our intention. The houses, we are trying to keep houses at 6 and under right now. We want everybody to have their own bedroom and community space in the house. So we are at 6. That's what the government is. That's what our application was. That's what we're putting into you, and that's what we will maintain. And that's typical in all the houses that we operate. We have a cap on the number of people we will serve in that house.
Is there ever a time when YAI is not involved? Have you ever lost a home, sold a home, taken a different population to put into the existing home?
Okay, so since I oversee all the housing and I've touched every building that we own for the past over 30 years, our group of individuals we serve is only people with intellectual developmental disabilities, including individuals with autism. I want to be clear. We have voluntarily sold a couple properties because in the city, let's say it was a very vertical home, everyone was getting older. I needed to buy, 3 condominiums that I attached. So it was a bit of a trade-off. So we've never lost a property or given it up or assigned it to another agency. We have voluntarily, if that location, or particularly in Brooklyn, it was a very vertical house. Everyone was 60 and 70. They'd been there for, 25 years. They couldn't manage the steps. We sold it so we could buy, condos. And we developed condos for those individuals that were in apartment settings.
Okay, is it appropriate to ask, did you sell it on the open real estate market or to another agency?
We actually, at that point, sold it to another agency, but we did do a fair market study. So we were afforded that amount of money to go into the other property.
I see. Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Although it seems highly unlikely because you do seem like a wonderful organization, but do you have a contingency plan if in fact the agency was to dissolve?
So it's unlikely that the agency would be dissolving, but other large agencies that has happened to in the city. So really what now, there are certain restrictions that we sign when we buy houses because obviously it's being bought with taxpayer money. That if in the event something happens to YI, it would go back to the state to be reassigned to another agency that serves a similar population. So in the past decade, most probably YI has taken over 2 or 3 houses, not agencies, houses, where for some reason the agency was not able to maintain the house anymore. And we actually incorporated that into our residential system. So that's happened, but there are some safeguards for that. And it just won't be sold on the open market. It won't go to another purpose. All of our funding is through the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. So it's a one funding source.
If that were to happen, will you be required to come back to the community, the municipality, to make them aware of those
If
possible
there is
changes?
a change of auspices, and yes, they would have to refile the change of auspices with a new provider.
I had a question to project manager, please, with respect to fire protection. Do you have it's going to be a sprinkler system in each room, or how does that?
There won't be.
Are you going to have an alarm?
Fire alarm system, though.
it's a hardware fire alarm system. There are fire drills. We do make sure that we have solid core doors. All of our egress doors are single lever action. People practice fire safety and fire drills all the time. This particular, it depends on the individuals. Everybody's young, ambulatory, and they're able to evacuate within 3 minutes, and they're trained to do that. I have done houses that do have sprinkler systems, and maybe in 20 years, if these individuals are older and need that, then we would do that type of system. We have gone in and installed fire alarm systems when sprinkler systems when we need to do it.
Okay, thank you.
And, also with that, all of our systems, policies, and regulations, we are audited at least annually by OPWDD, and they come in and make sure that we are doing all that we're supposed to be doing.
And we have to have contracts, the fire alarm contracts, they're monitored, come in quarterly checks. Fire extinguishers have to be tagged, all of those things. We have very strict regulations with all of those things.
Are family and friends able to visit the residence?
Yes.
Is there a schedule for that, or?
There's not a schedule. We're very person-centered, but again, it is 6 people living together. So, we do ask that everyone be respectful of the other people living there. So we do ask that, visiting, be done during normal hours of the day and evening.
Folks would not be sleeping over?
No, we don't have sleepovers. And we find frequently family members will take their individuals out to home to celebrate, out to dinner. More people going out than people coming in. Maybe they'll have holiday parties a couple times a year, but in general, when they come to visit, they usually take people out.
Does board members have any further questions?
Just one, and I'm not sure who is in charge of finding the properties, but what is it that you look for in a community when you're looking for a property for this purpose?
So I work with Nick on locating properties, and right now we are in an expansion mode. So this is actually one of 4 properties that we are pursuing in Hudson Valley. We have actually purchased a house in Ossining. The house has been renovated and it has been certified, and it is actually opening right after the new year. We have another house in Yorktown and one in New City, and there we're in contract on, and we're waiting to close. We finished the community piece of the work, and we're just waiting for government to help pull together all the paperwork and close on those properties. So we look for single-family homes, we look for large homes, we look for houses that have off-street parking. That's very important. We check with the state to make sure that houses are not overly concentrated on top of each other. We look for a home that's going to be able to be renovated, that has enough bedrooms, that's has enough bathrooms, preferably. Always on, here we've been able to do on sewer system, public water, oil tanks that are above ground, or gas. There's a lot of checklists that we look through in identifying a property.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'd like to move on to the public portion of this where the residents are allowed to ask questions. Right now it is 8:43, and if we need to, we're going to stop at 9:43. So I'd like to start on one side and then come to the other side. So if you want to raise your hand on this side, you could direct your questions.
Do you want us here for questions?
It would probably be best if you want to you could sit up there if you want and answer questions. Mr. Grace.
To the mic. You guys, if you want to sit in front, you can. Yeah, sure.
Good evening. I'm Michael Grace. Some of you do know me. I was a town supervisor in Yorktown, but I had a couple of lives up there. I was a town attorney, and also at one point the attorney for the group home committee that Yorktown started when we used to we actually got inundated with quite a bit of requests. In the past, I was you're familiar with the process up in Yorktown. And the process up in Yorktown is when we get these notices, we have a committee that convenes to vet the application as best we possibly can. And we've had some very successful, but we've had also some unsuccessful applications before us. Tonight, I'm here to talk about some of the concerns of the residents at Hollesley Place. Basically, I've been doing this for almost 30 years, like this young lady over here, dealing with all the different issues. I think you have two major issues to consider. One is the saturation, which the supervisor has alluded to. You talk about as a town supervisor myself, we were very sensitive as the impact on the tax burden on the community. And the idea behind the scheme these days with OPWDD is to have communities share the burden of housing these people that really do need a lot of, and there's no judgment made about the character of the residents or the mission of the organization. That's all laudable, but it's got to be in the right place. Each community needs to share its burden, but we know that what the old adage is that elephants get fat one peanut at a time, and communities go broke with one tax-exempt property at a time. I think that the town of Pleasantville has done more than their share their share of the burden. You have a lot of homes, but it's also to take into consideration not the group homes, but also the other institutional places. And I think just in today's Low HUD newspaper, you had a headline that was just very flattering to the town about the amount of money that the town is spending both on police services and in terms of the institutional places that you do have. And these are things that OPWDD must consider when placing a home. And we think that the community thinks that the point of saturation has been reached under the statute, and there is very good cause to deny any further applications within Pleasantville. We would also like to have the option, the neighborhood would like to have the option with the consent of the applicant. I know there's a very short timetable. It's 40 days. It's unfortunate that the notice is given at this time of year. So we're here on December 27th between Christmas and New Year's trying to scramble to get an idea of what's going on. It's only tonight that we get information as to what the resident population is going to be, because that resident population in these homes can vary quite significantly. And it makes a very big, it's a very big factor on the impact on the neighborhood as to what that resident population is going to be. How much are they ambulatory? How self-sufficient are they? How much help do they need? What the staff is. Not all staff is equal because not all residents and their disabilities are equal. So these is all information that the community should have. And I would like that the applicant, rather than a 5-10 minute presentation here tonight in front of a packed room with 5 minutes to talk, that they would give us more time to digest that and to take a look at that. I think that's only fair. In Yorktown, when we do these things, we get on them early so we can get that information. We have informal meetings with the residents to address their concerns, because what happens is if it comes out of the blue, the residents do have very legitimate concerns, and you can't belittle them. You have to validate them. You want to be good neighbors. You have to make sure that there's a fairly good understanding of what the resident population is going in there. We haven't had that opportunity. The residents of Hollesley Place, it's a cul-de-sac. That is one of the factors that should be considered by the board, because that really isn't a good situation. The house may be good for all other reasons. Cul-de-sac usually does not work out from our experiences in Yorktown. Again, we've had some very, very successful ones. They've been embraced by the community, and it's great when they are. When there's a headwind, when there's a resistance, when there's a lot of physical plant alterations, site alterations, or site changes to the residential site, there are concerns, and it's not necessarily a good fit. We think that I know they get a per capita allowance to do these things from OPWDD. And I think that's quite a significant allowance, but it is taxpayer money. We should be sensitive about it. Our residents have already found some alternative sites that would fit their criteria that should be taken a look at within the community, and they may be better suited. But again, I think the notice came in on the November 20-something. So you have 40 days. So you're looking at coming back next week and having to make a decision. I don't think that's fair to you. I don't think it's fair to the community. I don't think it's fair to the residents that have to digest this. Or I really ask that the applicant either withdraw its letter of intent and then and then resubmit it to allow the 40, give us an additional time. If it is such a good fit, as they suggest that it may be, then that 40 days may be the best 40 days that they spend assuaging the concerns of the community in which they're now going to be a part of for a very, very, very long time. I think that rushing to this is not the appropriate way to go about it. In Yorktown, we set up a procedure so that would not happen, because it is always a formula for disaster. It's a formula for an unsuccessful application. So, and I thank you for your time. I know you got a formidable task in front of you because I've been there. Thank you for your time, and belated Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Yeah, the time frame has been an issue for us. As you all know, we received it late. We did not have a lot of time to digest this ourselves as a board, and now we're asked to make some kind of a decision within a very short period of time through the holidays.
I think it's appropriate, Mr. Supervisor, that maybe we take turns between each side. But if you really want, I'll move over to this side so you can continue to call. Because I just think that's inappropriate. There's people here that sign the paper, and I'm one of those people that like to approach.
I'll call you up eventually, yes. Thank you.
You serve us, not the other way around.
I started before how I would like to proceed here. Yes, sir.
My name's Michael Carey. I'm a civil rights and disability rights advocate. I'm also the founder of the Jonathan Carey Foundation, which is named in my son Jonathan's name. My son was murdered in a care facility. He was suffocated to death by his caregivers. Now, what's not being told by this organization is the dangers of these facilities. They are extremely dangerous and deadly. Now, and families, you need to know this. Now, listen, my son was in, I need to speak. You need to know the truth. My son was in residential care for 3 years.
Treatment facility.
He was abused over and over again. He was denied food and meals for behavior management, modification, that's the seclusion, restraints. It's all self-reporting that when there's abuse and neglect in these facilities, group homes, mental health facilities all over the state, it's rampant abuse and neglect. 7,000 to 8,000 calls go into the state abuse hotline a month. That's what's reported. Multiply that by 2 or 3 times. 11 to 13 deaths every day in the state's mental health care system. Hardly any safety and abuse prevention measures are in place to protect your children. I didn't know that. Most people don't know that. That's why I'm here, to let you know. You got to understand what the dangers of these facilities. Now, YAI, in less than 2 years, there's been 38. Now, this is only a less than 2 year period that I have state documents, 38 allegations of abuse and neglect in a small number of their facilities. 11 deaths in 15 months. Now, what's happening is with the deaths, a lot of these deaths, the number one known reason for deaths of people with developmental disabilities in group homes, okay, is staff not calling 911 when they're in medical distress. Now I got my 911, I've drafted legislation. There is no law requiring staff, mandated reporters, direct care staff, workers, no matter what, to call 911. So they're calling sex abuse crimes, physical assault crimes to a state abuse hotline. And guess what? They keep the stuff from the police on a regular basis. Most of the deaths are never even reported to the medical examiner or coroners. I'm telling you, I've had 4 congressional representatives that have just come out. You can Google it. They've called for federal investigations of the state abuse hotline that's basically covering up the damages of these facilities. Now, the other thing is they're placing sex offenders. We've located our foundation through investigative work from a partial list of facilities has found 80 convicted level 2 and 3 sex offenders in group homes. Who in their right mind would do this? And the state will basically tell you guys to put them in there. They call the shots. The state of New York, basically they're receiving, and these facilities are making massive amounts of money. They're not-for-profits. They call themselves not-for-profits, but these administrators are making massive amounts of money. They are financially exploiting disabled people. They are not providing them safe care and services. And as far as criminal background checks, listen, most of that is a bunch of bunk. They can hire, the state allows them to hire different people that are convicted of felonies. They are not doing employment background checks. The direct care staff do not go through significant training. The training for these individuals should be minimally 400 to 500 hours, and they should be licensed and right? That's what should be done for direct, and they should be paid a fair wage. They're not being paid a fair wage. Minimum wage or less is not a fair wage for supposed direct care specialists. They're not trained, they're not paid, they're not monitored. And the state of New York, basically, again, Google what I'm telling you. New York Times, Abuse and Use series, it's a runner-up for a Pulitzer Prize. It took me over 2 years to convince them to do that investigative reporting series. These facilities are dangerous, they are deadly, and they need to be, the system itself has to be dramatically reformed. Period. I would not recommend anyone to put your child in any group home until the system is changed. Don't do it. Ask for your family, your friends, everybody else to help you.
Thank you. Would you like to respond?
So first of all, I am sorry for your loss, and I think that your advocacy has set up a lot of safeguards and procedures with the Justice Center and other things that are going on. I mean, there's no excuse for what happened to your son, and I do appreciate your advocacy, sincerely do.
Not about my son.
But it is about the system, and because of what happened, you became an advocate.
I mean, I wanted to, that my sentiments are the same as Sandy. In fact, we used the video that you produced about your son's death as part of our mandatory in-person training that we do with every single staff. The video that tells your family's and Jonathan's story. In terms of the statistics of abuse, I'm not quite sure where that information came from. I will tell you that YAI, we touch over 10,000 lives. And the word abuse is a large word that is used within our system. A situation of a staff person not giving a medication within the parameter of the time where it's prescribed, if it's 5 minutes late, can be labeled abuse or neglect because they didn't follow the right protocol. I can tell you within the Westchester region, and I will go back and check, but I am 99.9% sure that no one has died in any of our residences not due to unnatural causes, or I can absolutely say not due to the action of any staff. Many families rely on us for supports and services. And again, I'm sorry for your son, but I think you really misrepresented what's going on out there in the industry.
I just want to second that I know very much about Jonathan's Law and your advocacy, sir. And it really, really changed the residential treatment model, which this town knows full well with Hawthorne Senior Knolls and Pleasantville Cottage School. And in fact, those facilities are now scaling back. The true fact of the matter, those facilities are legally illegal under New York state law, under the Supreme Court law, New York congressional hearings, the Olmstead Act, has outlawed the institutionalization of children. And that's why the New York State closed all those facilities upstate. There's only a few remaining, and it's only run by the private sector. But they too will be deinstitutionalized into a more appropriate setting for families, so that we in this town will not be receiving children from the 5 boroughs. They'll be taken care of in their own neighborhood, next to their families, next to community support. And that's the reason for this law. It's the reason for the Padovan law. It's the reason why George Bush passed, who just passed away, God rest him, just passed the American with Disabilities Act. So I think there's a lot of, unfortunately, misunderstanding of the two models. We're talking about here is a home that under New York State law is taking care of a family. This is going to be a family of 6 young ladies, okay, that in this particular law deals with 14 and under. It does not deal with facilities whatsoever. So I applaud you, but I just think that needs clarification. You know, again, you know, I said this before, and I really think that, you know, the town board, having worked with many of you colleagues, is trying to do the best thing, because there is a 40-day limit, and you're trying to respond to this in the most efficient way possible. But I think some of the communications may have been misunderstood or misleading or perceived inappropriately. And I think there's an opportunity here for the town board to walk back some of that misunderstanding. And some of the misunderstandings is, number one, tax base cannot be used as a explanation, as a defense. And I think that has to be clarified, if you don't mind clarifying that for me. Also, the tax rate on a $17,000 house, only about 35% goes to the town. I would like to ask the town board, what is the actual number in cents per household? Because we have 45,000 people in this town, and so many households, over 33 square acre miles. We are the second largest town in Westchester County. So, you know, this law is very specific. It states to the community, the residents and area, if there is too much of a population. And in this case, there isn't. So we, unfortunately, the town board had fought a previous case and basically threw the money away. It was burning money. It was giving money to lawyers to fight a case that they knew would be lost, and it was lost. So I really want to appeal to the good senses. I want to educate people. You know, I understand your position that you're trying to respond to community's concerns. However, I consider you colleagues and leaders. And I think the responsibility of leaders is also to educate the public on the due diligence, on the real issues, the facts of the matter. And I think you tried doing that in the beginning of the meeting tonight. I hope that your actions are louder than words, because there is a lot of misinformation. And what I see happening in the social media world is a divided community. And I think this is a great community. I think we just celebrated, you know, peace, love, joy, and hope. You know, one of the reasons I moved here is because it's a faith-filled community. I'm involved with many organizations like these good folk up here, whether it's the Lions Club, the Knights of Columbus. There's people who work on our school boards. There's people who serve for medical. The duty to care, to love one another, to serve one another, to help one another. This young lady, Emily, deserves to continue to live in this town, and so do her friends. Thank you.
My name is Maria O'Brien. I live on Halsey Place, directly across the street. Some of my concerns after listening to you speak are 5 days of training, 2 days of CPR. That's sufficient enough for a home that needs 24-hour care. You have 10 people living in that home. That does not constitute a whole family living in a 5-bedroom house that has to be changed to 6 bedrooms to accommodate all your needs. Ties to the community, I thought there were several of the people living in the home with ties to the community. After listening to you speak, there's only one person with ties to our community. You talk about moving to the town of Mount Pleasant. I moved to the town of Mount Pleasant too, because I wanted the quiet peacefulness of a country-like home in the small town of Westchester where I can afford it and have my kids go to a school where they can get a good education. And eventually, there is an impact on the schools. because all these homes coming off the tax bracket, before there was no 2% tax, so the school districts could raise taxes. The schools are now faced with a 2% cap. Eventually, with all these homes coming off the tax roll, they will be affected. I also looked at the YAI site, and you talk about all your positions. On your site right now, you have 90 open positions that need to be filled. You talk about 40-hour shifts. That's what I believe you said. And right now, you stated that it's 6 people living in the home. Does that change over time? You said the state doesn't have any control over the house, but yet you get funding from the state. So I'm sure the state has some kind of control. The other concern is fire drills. Fire drills in a neighborhood with small children, when are they happening? All hours of the night? What happens to my peace of quiet? We have a noise ordinance in this town. Now our street will listen to fire drills. No one else's street, but ours will. Off-street parking, we do not have off-street parking. In fact, my house is across the street from the home, and it's going to be parked in front of my house because the home has a fire hydrant in front of it. So you can't park in front of their home. It will be in front of mine.
Off the street, not on the street.
And the driveway does not hold 8 cars. And if you have one van, why do you need an 8-car driveway? She also said that the driveway holds 8 cars, but she talked about one van. Check your notes. Also, with Mr. Carey's information, from the time period of 2013 to 2016, in Westchester alone, most of these are considered felonies. This is a New York State document. 1,031 substantiated cases of abuse and neglect. How can you do this to your own children? Have you really done your research? I don't know about that.
So, just to bring clarity again, I don't know where that abuse number came from, where you got that from. So that's fine. That's fine. So let me go back to, let me clarify.
Okay.
Okay. So.
Okay. It's a New York State document, and and that's for 2 3/4 years. So the Justice Center that handles all these calls,
yes,
for 5.5 years, double that number for sure.
Okay.
It's a massive problem in Westchester.
No, that's not just, okay. So I will say those statistics are not representative of YAI. I will tell you, I don't have the exact statistics, and I'd be happy to get back to you. YAI does have the lowest, one of the lowest percents of allegations of abuse in New York State. That being said, let me go back to 5 days of training. I'm sorry if it was misunderstood. I said that they get 5 days of training before ever even being allowed to enter a program. To begin working. Our training is ongoing. OPWDD also has, I want to say at this point, 11 mandated trainings that staff need to go through yearly. 13 mandated ones that every staff needs to go through yearly. In terms of parking, we will have 1 van. It's an 8-passenger van, and we do believe that the driveway will hold up to 8 cars. We will not have off-street parking. We will have off-street parking, not on-street parking.
Right. We'll have staff, if a family member wants to visit. The driveway is a very long driveway, so we will be able to do that. And in terms of open positions, we have a huge network of programs and properties. There's over 200 programs, close to 250. So if I have 90 open positions at one point, it's spread throughout the whole system. It could be a day program, it could be residential, could be a family support program. We are always hiring staff, and one of the things we pride ourselves is frequently we will hire local people. They approach us and we interview them as we would interview anybody else.
In Westchester alone, we have over 549 staff. So just to put that number in perspective.
What happens if someone doesn't show up one day?
Could you come up, please?
What happens if someone doesn't show up that day for work? You have open positions, you don't even have enough people as it is. So then what happens?
So just to address that, our open positions are positions that are vacant for hiring. All of our shifts are filled. What would happen in the event of, let's just say, a staff person is on their way to work and their car breaks down and they can't get in? Our policy is that staff are not allowed to leave until their replacement comes in. Because we are held to OPWDD standards that we cannot go below our minimum coverage.
Can I ask that anyone who's speaking, please come to the microphone and please sign in with your name and address?
I thought there was a sign-up list.
Good evening. You know who I am. My name is Francesca Hagedis, and I live at 24 Brentwood Drive in Pleasantville. If you face my house, the house next to mine, to my right, is 16 Brentwood Drive, which is the YAI residence. When they asked our community to come to a meeting such as this, we had very similar concerns. Where are they going to park? How many people? How long are they going to be there? All the same questions that everyone is asking. They have been my neighbors for 16 years. They are, first of all, if you didn't know that they were there, you wouldn't know. Let's put it that way. If I know because they moved in after I'd bought my house. If you look on Zillow, and I will give you my address again, 24 Brentwood Drive, my property values have increased and my taxes have not. Okay. So the other thing is that they have a fire drill every now and then. I know they have it because they told me they were going to have it. I am not aware of when their fire drills are. I do see the residents coming out as a group. So I guess that is the fire drill. There's no noise. It doesn't call attention to them in any way. When they moved in, they gave us a tour. The entire neighborhood came to see what the house was like. It was gorgeous inside. It wasn't gorgeous when they bought it. Okay, but it is gorgeous inside. Everything is up to date. Everything is modern. Every resident has its chores, their own private bedroom with their stuffed animals or whatever it is they love. They brought with them. Their parents or family members come to visit, but usually they go out with them. They park back to back in their driveway. So their driveway is not big, but I don't know how they do it. It looks like a board game to me, but they get in there. There's only one staff member who parks on the street, and it's a different one each time. We've gotten to know the staff people. As a matter of fact, one of the staff members worked at my son's school, the Clearview School, because my son is disabled as well, and she recognized us, and it was a big reunion there. Really, they are excellent neighbors. The same group has been there since they opened. It's been 16 years. They give a barbecue every summer for the neighborhood. We go, we talk to the residents, and sometimes I'd like to say kids, but they're no longer kids because they've been there for 16 years. We trick or treat to their house. They trick or treat to ours. They decorate for the holidays. They're neighbors. That's what I'd like to say.
Just to address the fire drills, the other thing that we do is we do let the immediate neighbors, if it's requested, we will give you our fire drill schedule so that you know the time and date that they will be happening.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Maeve Townsend. I live in Pleasantville. I pay taxes to Pleasantville and Mount Pleasant, and my daughter is a junior at Pleasantville High School. She has special needs. So I'm sorry, I wasn't planning on speaking, but I heard a few things that I felt compelled to jot a couple notes on my phone. So people talked about the fact that 5 out of 6 of these young ladies don't live in Mount Pleasant. And to me, that's not such a big deal. My daughter plays for what's called kind of like the Special Olympics. It's called the Pioneer Games. And she plays with kids from Mount Vernon, and she plays with kids from Carmel. It doesn't matter where these kids come from. The families go to these games, maybe in not the best of moods after a long day at work, and leave just smiling like you would not believe, because these are fantastic young people, and the love that their families feel for them is overwhelming, and the help that they get from their staff, it's a beautiful thing. I encourage you to go to these Pioneer games. They're a lot of fun. It does the heart good. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Somebody mentioned the fact that, what do we do with all the cars? My daughter's never going to drive. She has intellectual disability. It's not going to happen. So it's not really a concern. The other thought is, it's not like we're dropping these kids into a facility and we're never going to see them again. This is my child. I can't do anything without thinking about her in the same way I do of my daughter who's, normally developing. We can't just hand over control to the state. It doesn't work that way. There are guardianship forms. There's a series of procedures that we follow. The thought that we're not going to come and take our kids out for holidays and weekends and take them to the movies. Don't forget, this is Westchester County. It's filled with loving families. The love that you feel for your kids, it's the same love that we feel for our kids. We're not dumping them on you. We're here to look out for them and let them have what's the next course of their life, which is to become young adults in a carefully found and controlled environment as much as possible. So I want to just appease some of your concerns. I don't want these kids to be demonized. I hear things like felonies, and I flip out. Felonies for what? For hugging you too much? They're sweet kids. I just, the vision that you have, it's not my kid. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Curtis Awe, and the Emily that was being referred to tonight is my daughter. And I would like to speak maybe on her behalf, but just to talk more about what's in my heart tonight. And before I begin, I do want to ask a few people here to be acknowledged in 1 second. It is hard when you have a child who at age 20 or 23 has a difficult time crossing the street and needs some support and some hand-holding. It's hard when they are trying to be as independent as possible, but do require support from other individuals in the community who give of themselves so incredibly. People in this line of work, no, they don't make the most money. And they're not there for the money. They are there for my child and for every other child with a developmental disability. As a parent, to say to me, shame on me for putting my daughter in a home like this, I have to put my daughter out in this world each and every day. She rides a paratransit bus driven by a bus driver from Westchester County. She goes to school. She goes to sleepaway camps where she is overseen by counselors, young people, older people. I can't tell you how many people we entrust our daughter's life to and have done so for the past 23 years. It's not easy. Are there bad people out there, people who do bad things? Absolutely. Let's not kid ourselves. But I'd like to introduce to you some of the people in my daughter's life, in my wife's life, who have made our daughter the woman she is today. And if you don't mind, any of her teachers and counselors and friends who've been a part of her life, internship people who are working with her every day, if you could please just stand and let me acknowledge you. I don't see one felon here. Thank you. I just want to wrap this up because I came here because this is good news. This is a wonderful opportunity for this community to have a home. And we're talking about one home. We can talk about the thousands of homes in this state and that state. We're talking here tonight about one single home. Please keep that in mind. That home is going to be where these young ladies will live together. They will grow old together, God willing. And they will be part of this community as they have been. or part of their community from wherever they have been living before they move in here. This is a wonderful thing. And all of this is due to something called the Developmental Disability Assistance and Bill of Rights Act. This federal law was created to assure that individuals with developmental disabilities are integrated and included in all aspects of community life. That includes participating in community activities with persons who do not have disabilities and residing in homes and home-like settings in the community. To the members of the board, it can be said that one of the most important responsibilities any leader has is to show people the way, to help constituents do the right thing. I call upon you, each one of you, to be that kind of a leader when you address this issue. And welcome this YAI family to Mount Pleasant. As I said, this really is an amazing opportunity. I don't know if you've had the good fortune to get to know people with developmental disabilities, but they are absolutely amazing. They are loving. They are just incredible human beings, and you just wouldn't believe it. So I'm asking you, I think this is a wonderful opportunity, and please don't let this opportunity get away. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Can you sign in, please?
I already did before. Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the board for having this meeting. My name is Lex Bastardi. I've been a resident in Mount Pleasant for my whole life, and I'm currently a freshman at Ithaca College studying speech-language pathology. I also have a 23-year-old brother with autism, and I have worked for Northeast Special Recreation for the past 7 years. For those who don't know, Northeast is a recreational therapy program for those living with special needs. I'm here to talk about the proposed group home and to give some personal insight on what group homes are really like. Before I begin, I just want to recognize the fact that most people here are not going to change their opinions by the end of the night, but I hope that I can at least inform you about group homes and the special needs population from my own experience. For those who don't know, there is a long and complicated process that developmentally disabled adults must go through to obtain housing. When you turn 21, you have the option to be placed on a list for housing, but what many fail to recognize is that a person can be placed on the list for their entire lives before a spot even opens up. The fact that this house is being proposed in our community is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for many families, especially for those that live here, and especially for Emily, and I know her personally. Contrary to popular belief, it is not often that something like this comes up in Mount Pleasant, so it would be very beneficial to both the families and adults that would live there. I understand that the common misconception that many tend to have about group homes in Mount Pleasant is that our town is oversaturated with them. But what many tend to misunderstand is that this statistic includes places like the Cottage School, Cedar Knolls, Halfway Homes, and many more that are here. This proposed group home is completely different than that, and I know this because my brother is currently living in one and has for the past 4 years. You will also be moving into the YAI group home in Ossining next week, so I've been able to experience this process firsthand, and I have before. This process of not only finding a group home, but then being accepted into one is quite long. YAI put in months of work just to get to know Joey before he was even accepted. And if you're wondering about YAI's program and reputation, I can easily say that myself and my family would never place my brother in the hands of a program that is not run properly. For those who are concerned about their own family's safety, I can assure you that these residents will not pose a threat to your community. I personally think they can improve it for most. They're under constant supervision, so you don't have to worry about wanderers or those walking the streets. And in fact, the residents are on such a structured daily schedule that they really won't be in the house every minute of the day, because they're out in the community doing everything from working jobs or playing sports so that they can live normal lives just like everyone here and be independent adults. I know that YAI gave the residents on Halsey the opportunity to see the group home in Ossining and to meet the residents there, and I really wish that you guys had agreed to this because I think that it really would have opened some eyes to what's being proposed. Sorry then.
We offered the board.
Okay, sorry. My apologies then.
And any concerned neighbors.
Sorry about that.
Through the board.
Gotcha. Sorry, my fault. The last thing I want to touch on is the people who will be living in this home. After reading multiple Facebook posts about this, I was most upset about the misconception that so many people have about those living with developmental disabilities. I want you all to know and to believe me that when I tell you that they are not sex offenders, they are not violent, they are not mentally unstable. They are human beings just like you and I, and their disabilities do not make them any less of that. I have lived with this population for my entire life, and I can easily say that these are the ones who would teach you empathy, kindness, and most importantly, the golden rule, to treat others the way you would like to be treated. And for those who are opposing this house, please think about this. If you had a family member or a loved one or a child with special needs like mine, I am sure that you would feel differently about this and that you would hope that something like this would be available for them in their lives. Whether this house gets approved or not, and I really hope that it does, I hope that everyone here gets something out of this. This population is capable of so much more than people make them out to be, and I hope that some of you can learn that one day. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Sandy Raguzzi, and I am the mom of a 17-year-old with Down syndrome. And I'm here supporting the OWS and everybody else who has a child with needs because one day I'm going to be in this position. Well, I'm not there yet. I will be there in 6 or 7 years. And it would do my heart good to know that this town would accept him living in one of these homes. He's been here his whole entire life. Mount Pleasant is a very safe town, which is why we want our children to be here. And it saddens me to see and know people that wouldn't want this in this town when they've known him his whole entire life. And I'm going to try not to get emotional about this, but I can't help it. And now on the flip side of this, I have another story to tell. I've been here before over the same situation with a house across the street from me. ARC wanted to buy this house. Everybody in my neighborhood came out and spoke against it. I was the only one there for it, but I still got up and talked. And I told the gentleman who represented ARC that I absolutely wanted them there. I welcomed them there. I would support them and I would help them anytime they needed, any time of night, because I understood what the situation was. I was ashamed then of all my neighbors. I barely talk to them now. This is the emotional part of me. ARC pulled out of the house because they felt so unwelcome. Instead, the house went into foreclosure. That was their last chance at selling the house. The house went into foreclosure. I had vagrants and drug dealers living across the street from me for years. I even had a girl OD at the bottom of my driveway. There was police presence there all the time because of the drug dealing going on. So I'm just saying to you, be careful what you wish for, because you don't know who else might buy this house. You don't know what their children are going to be like. You don't know what they're going to be doing behind their own closed doors. Here, at least you know who your neighbors will be. We learned the hard way in my neighborhood, the hard way. One time, one of the people passing through there had a dog. I opened the door one day, and the dog was jumping up and down, barking viciously at my front door, and I had to call the police because somebody had to come get the dog. My son was freaking out. He's afraid of dogs. These are the things that I had to endure. So on the flip side of all that, please be careful what you wish for, because you don't know who your neighbors are going to be.
You sign in?
Good evening. So I was inspired by the other younger girl that came up. I'm 23. I'm Kayla O'Brien. I also live on Halsey. So like I said, I'm 23. I went to school with Emily. Emily's a great girl. It's nothing about Emily or the home. It's about the 17 other homes in Mount Pleasant. So we just doing a quick search, trying to look for other homes in Mount Pleasant. There's one right down the street on Stevens. So we're still welcoming her, keeping this family, keeping YA in the community. But Halsey is, I'm sorry, a terrible fit for this. There's not one other fence on the street. You're going to be completely transforming our street. And then on Stevens, there's also a bus stop right there. So as Emily's growing up, and if she wants to go out on her own, she could get on the bus and go out on her own and really revamp like what they're doing. They're trying to move out. They're trying to do their own things. So I'm 23 and I would love to move out. So I started doing some research. I completely cannot afford it. So these, as it might be just be one house that might not make a difference on the taxes, but 17 homes in Mount Pleasant make a huge difference on the tax bracket. That's about millions. And then in addition, they mentioned the sex assaults. There's over 13,000 that have been reported, and only 3% are actually known about. So there's obviously something going on. And then just like in high school, my sister and I were bullied all of Westlake High School, our entire 8 years there, all when we were there. So just like what's going on in high school, that's what's going on in this community now. On Facebook, there's only good posts about what's going on. Everything that was stating our sides of it got deleted somehow. So, let's see. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Linda Tabaldi and I live in Valhalla. I work at Select Human Services in Pleasantville. It's an agency that provides services for individuals with special needs. I'm going to be reading a letter by Carleen Verna Miller, who cannot attend tonight. But just before I do that, I just want to say that the bus station is not relevant to this because none of these individuals will need to walk independently to go onto a bus. So they do have paratransit. They will not need to be close to a bus stop. Okay. So this is what Carleen wrote. So I'm reading on her behalf. Okay. My name is Carleen Miller Verna. I reside in Hawthorne, and I'm the mother of 4 daughters in the Westlake School District, 3 in the high school and 1 in the middle school. In addition, I'm a licensed clinical social worker who works at Select Human Services, also in Pleasantville. I facilitate socialization groups for teens and adults with developmental disabilities. And I'm the coordinator of the Self-Direction Program, which assists developmentally disabled individuals live the most independent lives they can lead. I am writing in support of the proposed YII group home on Halsey Place in Valhalla. This home would provide a lifelong home in a safe, lovely neighborhood for developmentally disabled adults who need extra support to live independent lives. Living a productive, independent life is something we all wish for our children, whether they are neurotypical or have special needs. I know our community is concerned over the security and safety with differing residential facilities, such as Cedar Knolls and the cottage school in our community, and a halfway house near the train station. But this is not the population that would benefit from this home. Developmentally disabled citizens have always been part of our community. In the past, they have just resided with their parents and then adult siblings or other relatives as their parents have passed. I'm sure you can all think of people who need extra help and support in your childhood. Today's world is striving for those with developmental disabilities to live more independently. I find that amazing, and it takes a huge level of burden and concern off the parents who wonder what will happen to their special child when they're no longer there to care for them. Today, we see people with special needs working in our community stores, doing internships in our offices and schools, and celebrating community events with us. This teaches tolerance and empathy and enriches the lives of us all. I encourage all of you with questions to ask now. This is the time. YAI is here. Let's talk to them. Your concerns about upkeep of the home and property effects on property value, whether residents are screened for criminal backgrounds and substance abuse histories. These are all important questions to ask. We all want to know the answers, having people that we know and love to be in this home. So that is important. I do hope in all of our questioning, you consider the kind of home and neighborhood you would want your own special needs child to live in if you are not there to care for them. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Suzanne Wilson. I'm a special education teacher at Pleasantville High School. I also live in Pleasantville. First, I'm going to read a letter from Father Burns from Holy Innocents Church. He could not be here tonight. Dear board members, I'm writing in support of the proposed YAI home in your jurisdiction. The need for such a residence is obvious for the developmentally challenged already living in our community. YAI has a proven track record of overseeing such residents in our area. Whatever can be done to provide a home setting for these folks with proper supervision and oversight is simply the right thing to do. This residence will bring peace of mind to many families and welcome the chance to live in a more humane setting for residents. I heartily endorse this project and hopefully you will do as well. Respectfully, Father Hugh Burns, Holy Innocents Catholic Church, Pleasantville. Now I'd like to speak on my own behalf. I've known Emily, I've worked with children with developmental disabilities for 25 years, and all of the students that I've worked with are all now aging out of our schools. And there is such a need for them to be able to lead independent lives that they deserve. I'm going to read what I wrote so I don't miss anything. Myself and my colleagues in the surrounding areas work to develop our students' essential skills so they can achieve the highest level of independence by the time they leave us at 21. The goal for every student is to be able to have a sense of purpose and engage in meaningful and beneficial activities upon their exit. This is what we want for all our kids. This includes living in communities that are safe and inclusive. Some of these individuals already live in your neighborhood. Your children and grandchildren have learned to accept and include everyone. I mean, that's what we do every day at school. This shouldn't change now. They have learned that fair doesn't mean that everybody gets the same thing. They have learned that fair means everyone gets what they need, and these kids need this home. Sorry. These individuals need supported housing in this community. Please give them the chance to continue to be active members of this community and remain close to their families and friends while living as independently as they can be. It is apparent that anyone, no matter what their ability, they can contribute to this community. I truly believe in my heart that the people that I know from this town would want this opportunity for these individuals. Please give it to them. It is a human right to be part of a community.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Campbell, and I am an educator in the Mount Pleasant Central School District. I am proud to teach the population of students that this home was designed to service. I have been committed to educating these students as well as the school community for over 18 years now. And I am blessed to do this work in such a supportive community, the town of Mount Pleasant. In school, we educate the student body about students with disabilities. We teach them first to understand, then to accept, and then to embrace. We expect it. They never fail us. In fact, they go above and beyond to support these students. Use of the community to work together for growth and success is essential. I could never do it on my own. My students have a lot to learn, but they are also our teachers. They teach us all about differences. They teach us about acceptance, about tolerance, and about the gifts that we get from others that may not be visible at first glance. Over the years, I have received a wealth of feedback from students and parents in this community, expressing gratitude for the opportunity to share in a connection with this group of students. Many of those connections prove so moving and so motivating that they have had lifelong impact. These individuals will bring the same as neighbors. I teach my students with disabilities that they are true members of the school community. I teach them that they may need support, but that they are included. I teach them that they are as good as anyone, and we assure them that we are here to help them succeed. We plan for them, we instruct them, we meet with their families, help them to make friends, attend to their interests, push their boundaries. We work so long and hard planning for their quality of life, for their independence, and for their adulthood. And a part of that quality of life remains community. And it's this community. Because where else should they go? And why? Lastly, I'm honored to share that one of the individuals that would call this house her home was my student, Emily Awe. Emily touched the lives of our school community here in Mount Pleasant. She taught us so much through her social, funny, kind, and engaging ways. And any one of us would be proud to share our neighborhood with Emily. I personally taught her that she belongs here. Prove me right.
Just to give you a little bit of our time, we have like 3 minutes left.
I'll be short and sweet.
No problem.
I want to thank,
Did you sign in?
I did sign in. Not with my real name. Just kidding. Little levity. I want to humbly thank the board for their time for this event. I'm a neophyte to this experience, and it is because of Emily, Al, and her family that I'm here. I've had the privilege of having her as an intern in my salon for 2 years. She is the fifth of 5 interns that I've had through the Pleasantville school system that I'm honored to have. And it was through their reaching out to me that I've been able to have the life-changing experience with these students. I want Emily to come live with me, actually, if I could. That would be awesome. She and the other 4 interns that I've had have taught me and my salon and my staff incredible things that I never realized possible. My clients love her. When she's not there, they ask where she is. She is a staff member. She has become a staff member. And my life and the salon's life has been enriched by having her with us, and also thus getting to know the members that come, the aides that come to be with her. I can't say enough. Again, this is my only experience. I do have to say that one of our interns over the past 5 years did actually go on and get his hairstyling license. It blew my mind away. So I take a stand for this house, though knowing nothing of all this other stuff. All I know is she is an amazing person. There are qualities she has that I wish I had more in my life and that I'm working on. And if the other 5 people that were chosen, I have no doubt. I trust the house, even though I don't know these women. I trust the house and I trust this organization. And please, let's just keep it simple and keep it pure, because these people, it could be my child. I have one child and he's, quote, normal, but Emily is more normal than my son. And I would love Emily to teach him some stuff. So that being said, this has to happen. Thank you.
We have 18 seconds left.
My name is Louise Tabaldi. I live in Valhalla. I am a lifelong resident of Mount Pleasant. My children grew up here, went to school here, and 2 are now homeowners here. I am proud to live in Mount Pleasant, a community that is inclusive and supportive of all residents. This home will be home to 6 young adults that need an independent living opportunity in our community. They are not criminals. They're not a threat to the safety of others. They are not a drain on our town's resources. They are simply citizens who should be allowed to continue living in the town they know so well. Just like my family, I hope they have this opportunity to remain in the community in which they work and live. We now have a young resident who is reaching out for our help, and we are in the position to give her what she needs. Please send a message to the community that we help our own and we will share the burden. A facility like YAI will make Mount Pleasant even more appealing as it brings inclusivity in addition to keeping socially and economically productive adults in the area. Please approve the addition of this home. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes the public discussion of this topic. The town board will be discussing this further for the next few days, and a decision will be made what direction we need to go. Understand that no matter what the decision is, will not be an easy decision for this town board, and we hope that you respect that decision, whatever it may be. At this time, this ends this portion. You're welcome to stay if you like to hear the next 25 things that are boring parts of our meeting.
We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Other than that, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Diane, is that all year? We're going to move on to the rest of the town board agenda.
That was the deal.
Moving on to the supervisor's report. First item on my report is to refer Piazza Construction, Demoski Architects, and JMC Engineering. This is for 500 Commerce Street to the planning board for their review. This will give the planning board an opportunity to dissect the project, have a public hearing on it, so the public has an opportunity to see what this project is about. This is the project where right now Victor's Restaurant is, and this is they have a proposal which we will be looking forward to knowing more about in the planning board process. So Resolution 68718 will recommend Piazza Construction to the planning board.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Amiano.
Second.
Second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, authorization to award the Old Farm Water Main Project Phase 2. This is for Jokin, the same one who won the first phase. This will authorize them to move forward with the second phase of this project. Let me see if I can find the quote from them. This was a bid process. Jokin was the low bidder. Total of this bid is $6,718,135.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
I'll second that, please.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to increase the total cost on purchase order 18720. Let me bring that up. This is additional work. Drainage work. We have the previous approved amount was $469,072. Change order amount comes to $18,026.87. Total overall job cost is $487,098.87. This is a request from David Smith from our Water and Sewer Department.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a stormwater management agreement authorization at 211 Sawmill River Road. This is a project on the old Green Valley property. With that project, there is stormwater management that must be established with the development. So this agreement will be this is Aquest Development Company, LLC, 211 Sawmill River Road, to establish a post-construction maintenance, inspection, and upkeep of the stormwater management devices by the owner as required by New York State DEC. The agreement will assure stormwater management compliance under our MS4 permit. Same as without any development in that area. That whole corridor has to have this agreement. It's new stormwater management.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Amiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Purchase order number 8301805, replacement of water mains on Old Farm Hill Water District. That was the first phase of this project. Total for this first phase is $631,020.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
Second.
Second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is purchase order number 830-1806, emergency work at the Commerce Street Pump Station. This is the UV pump station down on Commerce Street. This is replacements of, these are quartz tubes. They're UV lamps, which are required. The sole supplier for this is Calgon. And the total for this purchase order is $6,796.53.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Amiano,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is also regarding the Commerce Street Pump Station. This is some work on the electrical cabinet down there. Purchase order 830-1807. See if I can pull up the total. Total cost for the work on this electrical cabinet is $7,078.44.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is purchase order number 830-1808. This is for water sampling test equipment. This is a requirement for our water and sewer department. Total cost of the testing equipment is $12,540.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
Second.
second by Mr. Amiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is purchase order 162-1803. This is for work to be done on our office for our police secretary. Right now, our chief secretary is on one end of the building and the chief is on the other end of the building. This will make it more efficient for the chief and the captain and the lieutenants to work more efficiently, working closer together with their secretary. Let me pull up the cost on this. This was bidded out. The total, this is the low bidder, was for, what's his name, Nicholson Carpentry. Total cost is $18,253.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, purchase order 162-1804, ICC review. This is for the Cablevision project over on Route 9A. Total cost for their review is $7,470. This cost is covered in the permitting process through our building department.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to increase part-time salaries as for the 2019 budget. The list of this is available for anyone who would like to review it. These are all numbers that were approved in the 2019 budget.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Amiano,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to correct the salary for the new controller. When the controller was hired, it was at an initial salary that was established in the controller's office. We had agreed in the 2019 budget that the salary would be increased to $135,000. And this is a budgeted amount for 2019.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I have to say, Brian Keneally is well deserving of this. It's him and Katie added to the controller's office has been a major asset. Next item is authorization to amend the 2019 adopted budget for a net tax reduction of $60,000. We always like to find ways of reducing it. So this is reducing the 2019 budget by $60,000.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Mr. Amiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is approval of the 2019 Property and Casualty Insurance Program and Cyber Liability Policy renewals. Also, there's an option for the active shooter and
Yes. Workplace violence.
workplace violence insurance coverage. We had a presentation at our last work session. I got the numbers. Okay. Let's see if I can pull it up here.
Very cool.
Are you looking, Mr. Supervisor, are you looking for the coverage for the active shooter coverage?
Yeah, we had agreed on a $50,000.
Yeah, it's on the
deductible.
computer.
Here we go, a $3 million with a $50,000 deductible.
Right, total cost comes to $40,107.79.
Yes.
The new policy, I had it separated, but I don't know what I did with it. Anybody have the total?
Just the active shooter?
No, the active shooter was the $40,107.79.
All the premium breakdowns?
The total premium, I had a breakdown of last year and this year.
I just have the itemized.
Yeah, the total for 2019 is $619,776. Last year was $606,994. So it was a slight increase in the total. This resolution would approve moving forward with the renewal of our policy and adding the active shooter workplace violence coverage.
Like to make a motion for approval and smart move with the active shooter insurance.
Unfortunately, we have to have it. Hopefully, we never have to use it.
Yeah, thank God.
Unfortunately, but imperative, so I would second that motion. Thank you.
Motion by Mr. Saliano, second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization for Justice Ponzini to attend the Association of Towns training session in New York in February. Total cost, I believe, is $100 per attendee.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is approval of employee carryover, 10 days maximum, to be used by January 31st, 2019. There is a list that the town board has. Anybody who wishes to review that is welcome to do so. It'll be in the town clerk's office. This resolution will approve the carryovers for the different employees.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to enter into a E911 IMA with Westchester County. This is an ongoing agreement we have with Westchester County. Started in 2017. This agreement goes to 2022.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Amiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to enter into an agreement for 2019 HR services with public sector HR consultants. The total comes to $5,200 per month.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Amiano,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That was one of the best moves I think the town board has made, hiring the HR consultant, and a major asset for us. Authorization to enter into agreement for 2019 legal services with Harris Beach, our town attorney, Darius Chapizeta. The cost has not changed from previous years. The retainer is $80,000 a year, with a $24,000 per year for handling tax certiorars.
Make a motion for approval, please.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is authorization to enter an agreement with the Westchester Parks Foundation. Councilman DiPaolo has been working on this with our town attorney, Darius Chapizeta, to establish a tax exempt. I don't know if you want to explain.
Yeah, it's just really a parks foundation for the town itself, so it can fundraise for the parks to help offset atypical costs that the recreation department may have formerly had to lay out. I do stress atypical. It's really meant for things that are really to enhance and beautify our already lovely parks. So what's nice is that the county already has an organization, and the county's foundation typically acts as an umbrella organization for smaller towns and municipalities. So we've been talking to the county foundation and would like to enter our own Friends of Mount Pleasant Parks to sort of be under their umbrella organization and be able to help our parks out a little bit.
Would you like to make that motion to
Yeah,
move forward?
sure, why not? Absolutely. Motion to approve entering an agreement with the formerly known as the Friends of Westchester County Parks, now known as the Westchester County Parks Foundation.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
I'd like to second that and just say I think it's tremendous effort that Nick DiPaolo put in, because we need some assistance. And I sincerely appreciate it. I hope that we're very, very successful. Thank you.
I'd also like to thank Nick for his leadership and stepping up and having this great idea. I think it's going to be very, very successful, and hopefully a lot of people will donate. Thank you.
Yeah, we've had organizations wanting to contribute to the town, but unfortunately, because we are not a not-for-profit or a 501c3, we were not able to accept donations. So this will enable us to accept donations designated towards, like Mr. DiPaolo had stated, to enhance our parks. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, purchase order 121902, Atlantic, Tomorrow's Office, 2019. These are lease payments as per a contract. This is for the supervisor's office. It's $115 per month. Yearly cost $1,380.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Amiano,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is something we never like to receive, but unfortunately, our town clerk, Patricia Scova, feels it's time to retire. So after 26 years of dedication to the town of Mount Pleasant, as of January 31st, 2019, Pat will be effectively resigning her post as town clerk. So we reluctantly accept Pat's resignation as of January 31st, 2019.
I would like to make the motion with regret. Pat Scova has served our town in an exemplary manner for the past 25 years. When you're traveling throughout Westchester County and you speak with other municipalities, they refer to Pat as the expert as far as all matters town clerk. So it is with regret, but I will go ahead and make the motion to accept the resignation of Patricia June Scoba from her position as town clerk, town of Mount Pleasant.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
I'd like to second that and echo the sentiments, and Pat has been just a phenomenal public servant. She's managed that office brilliantly. The customer service is exceptional. She showed tremendous leadership. She's been a great friend to me under 3 administrations. She's taught me a lot, and I'm appreciative of her service. And I just want to say thank you for doing a great job. Thank you.
Good luck, Pat.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you for your kind words. It's been a wonderful experience.
We're going to miss you.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, thanks, Pat.
miss you.
Next item is reappoint Gina Harwood to Recreation Commission effective 1/1/19.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second?
second by Mr. Ramiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is another reluctant resignation of Margaret Gilardo from Recreation Commission effective 12/31/18. Margaret is another one who dedicated her time for many years for not only Recreation Commission, but also as a secretary in the supervisor's office for quite a few years. So, and we wish Margaret good luck in her advanced retirement. Now she's been retired for a while. Now she's going to be totally retired from the town of Mount Pleasant, and we thank her for all her years of service.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley, second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a vacancy on the Recreation Commission due to Margaret's resignation. So this next resolution will be to appoint Anthony Amiano to the Recreation Commission effective 1/1/19.
Make a motion to approve. Those of you that may not know, Anthony was a member of the Westchester Parks Committee. I may be calling it by its wrong name, but I think that's pretty close. So he brings a very unique and abundant amount of knowledge and expertise in that area. I think he would be an excellent fit.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Supervisor, I will respectfully abstain. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the reappointment of Richard Molina to the Library Board effective 1/1/19.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the appointment of James Arena to the Library Board effective 1/1/19.
So moved?
Motion by Mr. Amiano,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is business from the floor. Anyone that wishes to address the board on any town topic is welcome to do so at this time. Being there no speakers, I'll move on to the town clerk's report.
Receive signed license agreement with Westchester County for the use of 5-acre site on Grasslands Reservation known as Bradhurst Community Center with the town of Mount Pleasant. Receive signed agreement with Westchester EMS Paramedic Service with the town of Mount Pleasant. Receive signed agreement from Peter Gisandi and Company for the proposed siding and painting of the Bradhurst Community Center. Receive signed agreements between the town of Mount Pleasant and the village of Briarcliff Manor with the following fire protection district: East Briarcliff Fire Protection District and Northeast Briarcliff Fire Protection District. Receive signed agreement between the town of Mount Pleasant and the Thornwood Fire Protection District Number 1. Received election results from the following fire companies: Hawthorne Fire District, Pleasantville Fire District, and Valhalla Fire District. Received planning board minutes Monday, December 17th, 2018. Received Mount Pleasant Library Board minutes for the following meetings: July 11th, July 19th, September 20th, October 18th, and November 20th, 2018. Received 2 planning board resolutions. Sumail Paul and Shaha Mundakal received 2 notices of claim. Ada Hazik and Sinead Vokovic versus the town of Mount Pleasant, and Ed Barnes versus the town of Mount Pleasant.
Item J will be referred to our town attorney.
Okay, just want to say happy Kwanzaa to our residents who are celebrating that holiday.
Thank you. Moving on to council reports, Councilman Amiano.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. First item tonight is Resolution 714-18 is the comptroller's memo. The grand total for this comptroller's memo is $139,412.71. It is available for public inspection at Town Hall for any resident who would like to see it. So with that, so moved.
Motion by Mr. Amiano,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. The second item for the comptroller's office is purchase order 131-19-01, upgrade of the payroll system. So essentially what this will be able to do, this purchase, employees will be able to maintain their time electronically now. The system will integrate with the comptroller's office, reducing much of the manual processing and inputting that we've been doing for many years. This is a much needed upgrade to the office, and I thank Comptroller Keneally for putting this forward. The total cost is $28,265. So moved.
Motion by Mr. Amiano,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I will mention there will be partial reimbursement from the library estimated at $2,800. Last item for the comptroller's report tonight is authorization to make final lump sum payment to water and sewer employee G. Wind. Total is $31,062.29. So moved.
Motion by Mr. Amiano,
Second.
second by Ms. Smalley. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I will say it has truly been a privilege serving as the town board liaison to the comptroller's office. I want to thank Brian, Katie, Michelle, and Claudine for all that they do to keep our town operating efficiently on a daily basis. That includes maintaining payroll, paying our vendors in a timely manner, all the budget work that they do, and of course, answering my agenda questions. So I very much appreciate their professionalism and their dedication to the town, its employees, and of course, our taxpayers. So thank you to the comptroller's office.
Thank you. Councilman Saliano.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My report is from the police department. We have one item for you for this evening. It's purchase order number 30-18-09, podium banners. In an effort to enhance the professionalism of the police department, I would respectfully request the addition of these banners that will include a wall crest with the Town of Mount Pleasant logo and 2 podium banners. After researching companies, the vendor selected is the only vendor that was able to meet the specifications requested for these products. This is a memo from Chief Oliva. And again, the total price and the vendor, total cost is $3,350, and the vendor is Top 10 School Wear Incorporated. I ask the board for a motion of approval, please, for these banners. Thank you.
Motion by Mr. Saliano,
Second.
second by Mr. Amiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Councilwoman Smalley.
Good evening. My report is from the Recreation and Parks Department. The first item is the Recreation and Parks Department requests the approval of the following employees for special events: Ken Fisher Basketball, Parents Night Out, and Premieres. There are 4 employees, and the rate of salary is between $10 and $20 an hour, depending on experience. A list is held in the superintendent's office and can be viewed by the public at any time. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Amiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item is authorization to hire Christopher Madera at $18 an hour, effective 12/3/18. He is employed as a recreation assistant, and he will be operating and managing the men's basketball program, Ken Fisher Basketball, Parents' Night Out, and special events. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Parks and Rec requests the authorization to hire the following part-time recreation assistants to work at special events, Parents' Night Out, Kids' Night Out, effective December 14th, 2018. There are 3 names listed with salaries that range from $13.50 an hour to $20 an hour based on experience. The list is held in the superintendent's office for anyone to see. Thank you.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is authorization to accept the 2019 pool fees. As many people know, we have a beautiful facility here in the town of Mount Pleasant. The Recreation Commission has worked closely with the Superintendent of Rec as well as the Comptroller's Office. We request no fee increase for the 2019 season. This was supported by the 2019 budget. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPaolo. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is the Recreation and Parks Department requests the town board to accept the attached day camp fees for 2019. Once again, the Recreation Commission worked closely with the superintendent and the Comptroller's Office, and there will be no fee increase for the 2019 season. This is supported in the 2019 town budget. All documents are on file in the Superintendent of Park and Rec's office for the public to review. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The last item is a request to hire Sean Eddington as a recreation assistant beginning December 14th. He will assist with special events, Parents' Night Out, and the basketball program at a rate of $12 an hour. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Ms. Smalley,
Second.
second by Mr. Amiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. As a reminder to parents planning for the summer that the brochure should be out by the end of January into February. And as you know, our day camp programs are extremely popular. So if you're considering it, please register early. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman DiPaolo.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening to the public. On behalf of the Highway Department, I have 2 items on the agenda this evening. The first is seeking authorization to increase the original total amount on purchase order 50-18-03. The original amount was $20,721.32. The requested amount is $26,239.75 for a difference of $5,518.43. The increase in the purchase order amount was needed due to some unforeseen costs in the addition of truck rentals and increased tonnage for milling on portions of Marble Avenue and Kensico Road that was recently completed. So I'd move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
Second.
second by Mr. Amiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second item is requesting authorization to hire Kyle DeCuffa as a seasonal part-time employee at the Highway Department. The rate of pay would be $11 per hour. If approved, this would be effective December 28th, 2018. Again, that's a seasonal part-time employee at a rate of $11 an hour. I'd move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I don't believe we have anything from the town attorney this evening.
No report.
Thank you. Next item will be our scheduled meetings. Approval to change the work session date from Tuesday, January 1st, 2019 to Wednesday, January 2nd, 2019 at 7 p.m. and to have a reorganization meeting following that at 8 p.m. So Resolution 72718 will approve the change of times.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. DiPaolo,
Second.
second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item will be our business session, will be Tuesday, January 8th at 8 p.m. And before we adjourn, I'd like to thank Anthony for his time with our town board. He's been a very dedicated individual, not only for us in the town board, but his dedication to the school board and so many other parts in the town of Mount Pleasant. So Anthony, you will be sorely missed, but we don't think you're going too far. We appreciate everything you have done for the town of Mount Pleasant.
I would just like to add that, and I feel like I recently said this when we appointed him, but it needs to be said again because it's very true. Anthony is a very genuine person. He is very thorough, and I really mean that. I've really not come across someone as thorough as Anthony. He really vets everything and researches everything, and that's really important in this job. You really can't fake this stuff. So in addition to his thoroughness, he is brilliant, he is articulate, he is compassionate, he has all the right things that anyone in municipal work should have. So thank you for reminding us, even in your short time, of how things are supposed to be done, and I look forward to your continued public service.
It felt much longer than it actually was, I think.
It always does.
I do want to thank the town board, of course, for placing your trust in me a few months ago. It has been a pleasure serving alongside such dedicated public servants. And yes, it has been quite a short time, but I think we've accomplished a great deal together. I do want to thank our department heads and all the town employees for really executing the vision that we put forth every week. I do want to give a special thanks to Amanda Gisilli, who has proven to be a truly valuable asset for the supervisor, for his office, for town government, and for the taxpayers, most importantly. And it's just been a privilege serving our community on this town board, where I truly have enjoyed some of the most meaningful experiences in public service to date. And I know those experiences will last a lifetime. In the words of Clint Black, I know I'm leaving here a better man, but this is certainly not goodbye, but rather see you soon. I do have to now postpone the year vacation I was planning to take given my new responsibilities tonight, but I do so with happiness. And again, thank you all very much for your trust and your confidence, and may God bless the town of Mount Pleasant and these United States of America.
Thank you.
Anthony, I would be remiss if I didn't say thank you. Thank you for teaching me to be more humble, but also your dedication, especially during these last few months, has been outstanding. Not only to the town, but to each of the board members. You treat us with respect. You learn from us, but we learn from you. I know that you're not going far. I look to the future for you because it's very bright. And thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate everything we have worked on together. And this is not the end, my friend. We'll be together for many more years. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to say a special thank you to Anthony. There's very few people in life that have integrity and that as honest as Anthony and that really care about people. And he taught me that it does pay to be a civil servant. It pays to help people. And he's a perfect example of young people stepping up to help others. And we need more young people to step up. Anthony will be, he'll be back, and we need him. He's a professional. He's a great kid. I love him. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Anthony, thank you for taking the interest in the employees in the town and the departments and going in and finding out what each department was doing. It's a pleasure to know you and to work with you.
Thank you, Pat.
Being there no further service, no more. Being there no further business, I would like to adjourn in honor of Anthony for your dedication to the town of Mount Pleasant.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Anthony, second by Mr. Saliano. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.